Hi there, I'm LioConvoy. Before we get into today's topic, I have to give a disclaimer. This video will be discussing some pretty serious things. The person I will be talking about was initially introduced in my video on April 17th. So if you would like full context to everything spoken about in this video, check that video out first. I will make an effort to give context in this video where necessary, but it won't be as in-depth as part 1. The initial plan was to cover all the people within his group, but it seems there is one specific individual who has done too much harm to just be a footnote. Today, I will be focusing on the corrupted predator hunter, CasWarFox. Firstly, I do need to make some corrections on my first part on CasWarFox and his server, the Fox Mafia, as well as mention the wrongdoing of a person on my side of the fence. The creator, Gilded Pooh, whom I exposed for calling a raid on Queen Seraphina's server with the imagery of real-life zoophilic acts, did confirm to me that he was raided first from a person in my server. This was allegedly in retaliation to Gilded Pooh claiming on Twitter in August of 2022 that myself and Coyote Lovely were pedophiles. I don't believe the correct way to react to being spammed with a drawn shock image should be to raid a server with minors present with zoo porn, but I do believe in giving out the correct timeline regardless. He was also a bit triggered by me not using his preferred label, so Gilded Pooh is center-right, not right-wing. With all the misogyny he partakes in, as well as his desire to trigger the libs being great enough that he would download zoo porn, I just presumed. To move on, LioConvoy is a person who made a video on Coyote Lovely. His video focused less on the wrongdoings of Coyote and more on his feelings about Cass being too mean. Essentially, Lago's video is everything Cass claimed Hopeless Peach's video to be. That was strike 1. Then, LioConvoy allowed CasWarFox and his crew to come to his server for nearly 2 months to just spout nonsense about how they'd like to do certain things to Peaches because she criticized him for 80 seconds, or fantasize about me doing it. Strike 2. The final strike only had the chance of being struck due to me feeling the need to monitor what these dorks get up to. LioConvoy was caught following several Twitter accounts that posted feral and some lolicon. Unsurprising for a guy who paid money for a feral porn game, told the Fox Mafia about it, and didn't see an issue with a person responding like this. Strike 3. So is that it? Yeah, it seems so. That means we can move on to the main course. To reintroduce our main topic today for the uninitiated, Joseph Michael Guernsey is a 26-year-old content creator who has made several predator hunting videos and streams on his YouTube channel, CasWarFox. Judging by his channel, you would expect a predator hunter with 4 years of experience to have a safe community free from predators. Your first thought wouldn't be that his community is rife with varying levels of sexual degenerates, or at least that if he found out about them, they'd be dealt with properly. Just taking a surface-level glance into his community, the Fox Mafia, you would be met with people like Fursky Doodle, a 26-year-old woman who makes videos detailing the sexual assault she wishes onto other women she doesn't like, or Grimskull, a 30-year-old man who allowed a child predator to roam around his circles despite Harley TBS, or, even on a faster glance, you would notice a confession bot where CasWarFox allows his members to openly fantasize about sexually assaulting real women as a means to vent frustration. These people claim these things are jokes, but last I checked, we didn't dismiss the people detailing how they'd want to sexually assault children or animals, so a group of sexual creeps angrily calling for the rape of a woman won't be getting any kind of slack here either. So in today's video, not only will I prove that CasWarFox knowingly harbors and defends sexual degenerates, but is one himself. If you've heard of CasWarFox before, there is a high chance you've heard of him through the Coyote Lovely situation. I won't go into that again here, so if you would like full context, check out Hopeless Peach's video. To move on to Cass here, Cass and a few others in his circle made a stream on the 26th of February about the situation. The stream had zero concrete evidence of many of the claims they made against Coyote. Just the word of a self-proclaimed zoophile, Hypnotist Sappho. Remember that name for later. Instead, the stream seemed more focused on making a spectacle over Coyote's downfall. If you want a perfect example of everyone's skewed priorities, Cedric Feldman, one of Cass's goons and #1 Chris Chan enthusiast, had a list of questions ready for the stream to ask Coyote. Was this predator hunting channel going to ask about the matter at hand? Or maybe the children in danger? No, it was a list of random questions including Coyote's sex life. Because of course, why do your due diligence when you can vicariously live through a gay man's sexual escapades?
Why did you have that rant on the Zerkalo stream and said to them, I thought you cared about it? Who gave you chlamydia?
That's our last ones. What?
By the way, that is unironically one of the questions. Who gave you chlamydia? Because there was this, so someone was spreading
Kinda
rumors
personal,
about
like,
how...
Why is that? How is that crucial to...
No, because
Go
we're
ahead,
curious
ask.
because he's allegedly a virgin. He's a virgin, and somehow he contracted chlamydia.
Hey, if you smell a rat, that's because there is one. CasWarFox would claim in a call with another user, Pizza, that he was utterly shocked over Coyote Lovely, and how that shock made it harder for him to think about these things.
No, you know this full well. Do you have any idea how long it took me to process Coyote's betrayal, you
No, you were already
No, I was not. It took me weeks
What
just
do you
to
mean by
accept what
betrayal?
he did.
Exactly.
He lied to everyone. I've told you this several times.
You knew that ahead of time, and I've got the receipts to prove that too.
He didn't.
Yes, he did.
But this is just a front. CasWarFox knew about Sappho and Coyote talking with one another since November 11th, where the Predator Hunter allowed Hypnotist Sappho onto his stream, where this was all said.
Coyote and I were really fucking at each other's throats and threatening each other and saying, you know, terrible shit, which we've made up for, by the way. But I was egged on by Zerkalo. Literally. Like, I was at my breaking point, you know, suicidal, thinking about blowing my head off. And I was actually egged on into that. And Coyote has the logs on that because Zerkalo was literally telling them that that's what they were doing to me.
I also just want to clarify something real quick. I do remember what happened during the whole, before the help ban Coyote Lovely thing. You posted a video that was labeled as an apology, which I commented in my video, you know, that recently came out, that the words
That's
"I'm sorry"
right.
didn't appear. And then I left a comment on the video saying this is going to be funny. You came into my DMs after you left a comment, sent me a screenshot of your comment. You and I had a back and forth where I was just kind of laughing at how angry you were getting about all of this, and then you started antagonizing me. I antagonized you back. It escalated. Then like an hour later, you wound up creating that channel, and then I kind of antagonized you about that after I saw that channel because I thought that was really funny. But and I also want to clarify, I wouldn't say that you and I have made up. We have talked on Telegram briefly, but for the most part, I've already told you that for the most part, the reason why I'm talking as civilly about random subjects when you talk to me about it is because I just right now do not have the energy to get incredibly hostile with people that I have adversarial relationships with. And I've also clarified that your relationship as it stands now, I still find it predatory, and I will not ever move away from that kind of position. I think dating a minor when you are an adult is a predatory thing, and I do not agree with it. And
Neither CasWarFox nor the other people in the stream batted an eye to this, and didn't even look into it until months later. Considering Alexander, the source for all the damning evidence that Peaches used to out Coyote, wasn't questioned, nor did Cass's eventual stream have any damning proof, it's safe to assume that these 3 months weren't used to do any diligent research, just really stupid gay ops using Discord groups. Fantastic. However, there is evidence of CasWarFox having a grudge against Coyote Lovely from as far back as August of 2022. There was a group chat that was made the day Gilded Pooh and Sir Adamantine publicly accused Coyote and I of being pedophiles. This group chat was made by Cass to cry about us taking Adamantine, who was in Cass's server at the time, to task in said server for the accusations. In this group chat was Gilded Pooh, Vash Lancet, Kurova Milk Bar, and, of course, CasWarFox. In this group chat, Kurova suggested giving identifying personal information of several Senate members to a known child predator. This suggestion was never contested by CasWarFox, or anyone else in the chat for that matter. That's the thing, isn't it? CasWarFox isn't some noble hero doing predator hunting because he genuinely believes it's wrong. Heck, even his anime backstory on why he got into predator hunting is made up. We covered the entirety of it on my live stream here that'll be linked in the description, where Hopeless Peaches and I tear through his laughably stupid backstory where he claims to be in witness protection. We rang the US Marshals, Joseph. Nice fanfic though. And considering he's still operating and hasn't said a word about it, safe to say that's busted wide open. Cass's morals are flimsy at best and dangerous at worst, and you only need to look at the people he actively defends to see this, such as one person by the name of Fursky Doodle, or Nanarena, or Diaper Doodles? Yes, that is real. You have been set free, Doodle Tones. The crown is now passed to this degenerate. Truly, somebody who earned it. This 26-year-old creep had been called out in part 1 for posting a video where she detailed every way in which she would like Hopeless Peaches to be assaulted. In fact, in such a grotesque way that YouTube had to age restrict the video. The video was seen by Cass and promoted by him. Go figure for the same guy who allowed anonymous confessions of the same nature to be publicly displayed at his Discord server. This isn't her only example of being a disgusting pervert, however, as we found her F-list, a public list of Fursky's fetishes. Besides her listing, well, every other tag, yes, including racism? Fursky specifically lists different types of animals and genitalia, which really makes her comments in her video on Peaches start to sound like a barely disguised fetish. Or not disguised at all. Fursky was also caught with 96 of her fur affinity follows being artists who draw feral art, some being exclusively that, which, for a reminder, was the same reason for CasWarFox to demand I dropped everything to expose Coyote Lovely despite Fursky's numbers more than quadrupling Coyote's. Of hilarious note, though, is one of her follows is an account that uploaded that dolphin shock image they've been pretending to be angry about for over a year. The irony. So you would presume that CasWarFox would drop Fursky like a ton of bricks for not only following feral accounts, but openly being into zoophilia, and being a sexual harasser. No, instead Cass defends them and has kept them in his circle. Fursky may claim she made the F list when she was a teenager, but according to basic math, something Cass continually fails to grasp, 26 minus 2 equals a 24-year-old adult that made that list. Foxton and Grimskull are another pair of creeps that CasWarFox defends. I won't go into everything these two have done, as Heat and Mitsuru has done a very detailed 2-part series on their channel solely on the pair. So, to go over the cliff notes, Foxton Stockholm, a 20-something do-nothing, and Al Grimskull, a 30-year-old edgelord, are a pair who got into a Twitter beef with a YouTuber, HarleyTBS, and somehow failed to criticize a commentary channel of all things. So, to get some upper hand, they both chose to side with Harley as a groomer, a man called Josh. Grimskull confirmed that he did see the logs between Harley and Josh, but somehow Josh asking for nudes from a 12-year-old in exchange for Steam codes wasn't enough proof. Allegedly. Well, no, they then excused the child predation because Josh has autism. So, despite HarleyTBS, Foxton and Grimskull befriended a person they themselves knew was a child predator and led him around their circles, for him to, unsurprisingly, groom another child. If that wasn't enough, Dumb and Dumber also thought it would be wise to hang around a young teenager called Moomin. Considering the pair knowingly befriended a child predator despite one teenager, and noting the fact that the pair are likely both over 10 years older than Moomin, I would already call this odd. It isn't just odd, though, as the pair were more than comfortable to be in Moomin's Discord server where said child was operating a porn room. And it looks like there wasn't any pushback on this literal child owning any of this, as they were still fine being there in his server, only leaving the server when they were called out publicly for it. For further evidence with this is this clip, where Grimskull says in a response to me asking why Grimskull isn't trying to guide Moomin away from vulgarity.
Not Moomin, I can't really speak for him, and I don't really tell Moomin what to do or what he puts his thumbnails in and whatnot. Like, I talk to Moomin, I don't tell Moomin what to do.
Alright. So, my value when it comes to people like Moomin, and I mean like children, you're going to want to try to guide them. Not tell them what to do, but just be like, hey, maybe do X, Y, Z. Be a proper role model, for lack of a better word, if that's your intention, right?
He has a dad. He has a dad. He can.
Oh, no question. You can't take that place. That's not even.
Yeah, he has a dad. He can get that kind of stuff from his dad. I'm just, like I said, I'm just a guy on the internet. I'm not here to tell like a teenager what to do with his thumbnails or what to do with his videos.
Yeah,
I only have 200 something subs.
Yeah, but you're also in your 30s, and conducting yourself properly around these people is a wise idea. So yes, Foxton and Grimskull have a precedent of not steering this child away from behavior that could put them in danger. Probably why these clowns are okay with hiding behind a video this child made to shield against their actions. Definitely not innocent behavior. You may be wondering what that has to do with CasWarFox. Well, I warned Cass about this degenerate duo and what they did with Harley. But a couple of the people that joined after your stream, there's something genuinely wrong with them, and they pulled some really, really deranged nonsense in the past, and they apparently have a grudge against me. So they're trying to tell people in your server that I'm apparently a child trafficker, which is adorable to begin with. But these people, you know who HarleyTBS is?
Yeah, actually, I've heard their name vaguely before.
Well, years ago, because they just barely turned 18, I think, a while ago. When they were like 12, 13, there was a 16-year-old who solicited them for pornography. And because Harley has also insane people that are obsessed with them, despite the fact that Harley's content isn't that good to begin with, but people get really unhinged about it. Two or three people put Harley, when they were still a minor, in a group chat on Discord with the person that solicited the pornography and demanded that Harley apologize for exposing this person and calling them a groomer.
Okay.
Yeah, and the people who did it are the individuals by the name of Foxton and Grimskull that are currently in your server now.
Foxton and Grimskull.
Yeah.
Alright, I'll have to keep a note of that, actually.
And whenever you want, let me know and I can pass you. I have to clear it with a friend of mine because they're covering all of this. If it's okay with them, I'll pass you the Google Doc that shows their interactions on Discord. Yet here they are, still around Cass, and close enough for Foxton to be trauma dumping in his private server in some desperate plea to get backpats because they worry their consistent weaponizing of other people's trauma might come back to bite her. Cass knows all about these two, and keeps them around because they're morally corrupt enough to defend him against consequences. To move on to somebody's nefarious actions that CasWarFox himself has joined in on, let's talk about Neora, aka Raquel Mirabella. Apparently, this creep didn't learn from the last time that she left her public info out there. You may remember Neora for her infamous 50-page train wreck of a doc that Doodletones had the displeasure of dismantling in her video on the topic. I couldn't possibly tear apart this document as eloquently as Susie has, so I'll just steamroll over a few of the dumbest points and bludgeon how stupid these are into Raquel's thick skull. This newest document highlights Neora and Cass's weird obsession with the case of Josh Vita and one of his victims, Mintheart, a situation that has had an established timeline of events open to the public for years now. Due to the two having nothing to grasp onto, they willingly ignore the proof that is out there to feign the idea that they're the true heroes finding the real truth. It doesn't come off as genuine though when CasWarFox himself watched Vita get out in real time. Such as these two claiming I took Mint in when they were 16 years old, despite contradicting the very public fact that we didn't even know about Vita's actions at that time. Neora would also go on to claim that I wanted this assault victim to record their own assault for personal gratification, which is a very screwed up and twisted delusion to run with. Neora and Cash prove this with a recording of me suggesting Mint put surveillance up due to the police not doing anything and them being underage at the time so they couldn't run away. Anything recorded would be shown to the police, not me. Cass and Neora, as well as Foxton and Grimskull, run around laughing about this. They all make Mint's sexual abuse a joke and share how these guys believe it would be sexually gratifying to watch. Which doesn't surprise me due to how all these people openly fantasize about other sexual assault victims being raped, all for a shot at me. You'd think a predator hunter would know it isn't going to get to me as much as it will the very victim they're pretending to care for. It's not like they're checking in on Mint. No, instead they're looking for dirt on him too. Yes, that's right. The victim they put little effort in to pretend they care about is somebody else they're looking to expose. CasWarFox doesn't care about victims. Victims in these scenarios are only props to use against people he doesn't have the balls to fight on his own. The final example for this video, but certainly not the last, is Kurova Milk Bar. The same man who not only let CasWarFox know he had direct contact with an offending child predator, not only a man who is willing to give out the doxes of people he doesn't like to said predator, but is a suspected one himself. You see, Kurova has, in the past, gone by the handle of King.
But apparently they don't think so they're here. Thanks, King. If you wanted to take Seth for yourself, you shouldn't have said anything.
King, is that the Kurova Milk Bar person?
Yeah.
The significance of this is in this screenshot here, where a person by the name of Sasha was discussing with alleged child predator Metal Doomer about how a certain person thought it was stupid that Spellblade blocked them. This person was, you guessed it, King. See, Spellblade apparently has a habit of not wanting to expose predators, even stating that they weren't going to expose the previously named Sasha. King being very involved in this situation and trying to get someone they actively busted as an alleged predator to unblock said predator is very concerning. It's obvious something else went down here. Kurova does have another alias though, Lady Lolly69. Well, one of many actually. This is an account that Kurova uses to take shots at my family and, weirdly enough, uses to interact with hypnotist Sappho, yet another child predator. Something that, in this case, Cass does know about, because this was in their group chat. The fact Kurova has connections with child predators and wishes to send identifying information of Senate members to said predator should have been enough for Cass to get rid of him. Yet he doesn't. Cass didn't even protest against Kurova's suggestion. However, with how close CasWarFox was with Spellblade, I doubt he doesn't know about Kurova's interactions with Spellblade. In fact, I can almost promise he does. It is to nobody's surprise that someone with such a notable track record of befriending and defending sexual harassers, degenerate zoophiles, and suspected child predators even after they've been exposed that CasWarFox would have his own skeletons. Birds of a feather and all that. An ex-Fox Mafia member called Pizza let CasWarFox know that he will be doing an in-depth background check on everyone in Fox Mafia, as he was noticing a number of troll shielders in the server. It wasn't until Pizza let Cass know he had looked into Cass that Cass began to freak out. Days after the call, Cass succumbed to his own paranoia about being looked into and attempted to drag Pizza into a group chat while lying about the purpose of said chat, claiming it was to address the incident involving a Mafia member's demotion. Said moderator wasn't in the group chat, but a person named Spellblade was, and it was obvious almost immediately that its purpose was something else entirely. So Pizza left and told Cass to never do that again. Unbeknownst to me, the Spellblade person had a special relationship with CasWarFox. One that myself and Pizza wanted to look into after Cass's continually strange behavior. When Pizza spoke about looking into Cass, he briefly mentioned a Keybase account and his connection to the user Spellblade. Cass responded by immediately deleting his own account. Not exactly the most innocent response to having a basic background check. On top of this, Cass was caught acting very suspicious when a Senate member was having a discussion about an unnamed person being an alleged predator. CasWarFox saw this and laughed about it with his server about how Senate was making accusations about him. However, when another Senate member later was actually discussing Joseph here, making the assertion that Cass dated Spellblade before they were 18 years old, Cass posted some nonsense in his server about how he never wanted to hurt anybody. With Cass then running behind the scenes to his ex-partner, panicked and scared about it. Well, Cass should have been scared. As it so happens, there had been something going on between CasWarFox and Spellblade. First being that Cass used Spellblade when they were a minor as bait to catch predators. Cass, the guy who calls predator hunting a hobby, thought it would be a good idea to put a child in harm's way to catch the bad guys. We see here in this announcement that he calls Spellblade a very effective member of the pedo hunting crew, very shortly after Spellblade turned 18. But the screenshots Cass used to expose Doomer and someone named Sasha were from the previous year when Spellblade was 17, meaning Cass had been using a minor in his predator hunting operations. If there is ever a minor introduced to child predators in situations I've dealt with, it's due to the kid already being a victim of these people and having to ask them questions to get the proof and explain to them they have to file a police report. They do not, under any circumstances, join in on ops. What Joseph is saying here is awful, considering this is absolutely terrible for somebody as old as him to be doing. I don't need to lecture all of you on how disgusting it is to constantly and knowingly put a child in the hands of child predators just to get more information or drama from the situation. Let's just face it. Joseph couldn't even do basic research as to ask Alexander for the logs pertaining to Coyote Lovely, nor could he even look at the public timeline and proof about Joshua Vita. So there isn't a doubt in my mind that Joseph Guernsey had to go to this last resort. It doesn't end there, though. You see, CasWarFox and Spellblade were pretty close, with Cass getting sexual with Spellblade very quickly after they turned 18. Cass would regularly talk about his relationship with Spellblade, and in a conversation after he and Spellblade broke up, Cass said how Kurova should just take him.
Now he's regretting it because he's got feelings for the broad and thinks it's a smart idea to just say that out of kindness, I guess. And I'm like, you probably shouldn't have encouraged that dude. You should have just taken the for yourself.
Yeah, he probably low-key was hoping to invite them into the server so that you could reject them so that they would look at other options.
This makes Cass and Kurova look even worse than already detailed. Remember, Spellblade had just turned 18 in the initial logs here, and 3 things are made apparent about this conversation with Cass. 1. Kurova had been interacting closely with Spellblade as well as CasWarFox, so he would also know about this then minor being used in operations against child predators. 2. Kurova, a man in his 40s, had shown desire to be with a kid who had just ticked over into adulthood, a kid who had just been used by these grown men even before that point. 3. Joseph here was perfectly fine with a man in his 40s who has a lolly account and connections to pedophiles to get intimate with a freshly adult individual that Joseph thrust into the DMs of predators before this point. Joseph using Spellblade in this manner, and being so confident talking about him this way to others, has very likely given Spellblade a twisted idea of what a healthy relationship is, as he's only ever been treated as meat, one way or another, by this group of men who, at least one of them, is old enough to be his dad. Spellblade here is a person Cass is scared of to this very day.
Probably until I intentionally ruin my own life, maybe.
How would you do that?
I don't know, everyone's been feeding that in my head for a while. You need to quit, Kaz. You need to give up this whole pedo hunting game if it's going to ruin your life. Yada, yada, yada. You're going to die by the sword. Blah, blah, blah.
That doesn't even make sense. Live by the sword, die by the sword?
Yeah.
I'm a pedo hunter, so a pedo hunter's going to kill me.
You tell me. I mean, that was one of the reasons I left Seth behind. I figured that it was my fault for falling in love with someone who was a victim of something. Turned them into a mentor, and I became a mentor. It turned them into a bit of a weapon, I will admit. Then just left because I realized, yeah, that's a little f***ed up. For some reason they came back and said, you know, I know that you feel scared about that, but I'm not leaving. I'm like, oh, great, so you want to die with me. That's smart.
Cass has a reason to be afraid, and if this video doesn't do that job, it wouldn't surprise me if other people didn't come out of the woodworks to further lock him into that nightmare scenario. Joseph Michael Guernsey isn't a predator hunter. He's a predator in disguise, putting children in harm's way for entertainment, a hobby, to then be immediately sexual with them when they turn 18 years old, and when finished with them, will lead them to men who also have a track record of nefarious behavior. Nobody who cares for the well-being of victims would actively create victims for entertainment and teaching them that this is all okay. No wonder Spellblade is now an adult with a severe dysfunction and a history of protecting child predators. Joseph taught him this is all okay. CasWarFox is a coward that endangers other people for his own benefit and will fetishize the abuse of other victims to make up for the fact that he has no high ground to stand on. He'll work on docs comparing surveillance in a victim's household to homemade pornography, and let the doc be put in Neora's name because he is too afraid of backlash. He'll stay in close connection to Kurova and hopes Kurova will use his predator connections to save its hide if things get rough, despite supposedly being against such things in public. He'll ban Gilded Pooh from his server when it's publicly exposed the creep owns zoo porn, but will immediately lift the ban and beg him to come back because he's afraid of being alone. Heck, he can't even make his own video to defend himself. He has to have Foxen and Grimskull's living, breathing shadow, CilverFox1232, do it for him. Cas has to rely on CilverFox here because he already knows what level of filth this person has already turned a blind eye to. As much posturing as Joseph does to look tough, he will always be the guy who deleted his own public server due to a situation that escalated because he got dealt 80 seconds of criticism. He will also be the guy who made a super secret server he begged his underlings to lie about the existence of. Don't worry, Lumi is still there, always watching. So that is it for CasWarFox and his channel. Well, nearly. I'll be doing a live stream that is happening immediately after this video premieres to go over the other members of Fox Mafia, as well as extra details about the people mentioned here. There will be a final stream later down the road with Pizza 2 for extra information, so stay tuned for that. CasWarFox and his den of zoophilic predatory sex perverts are a prime example of what happens when attention-seeking and clout-chasing overrides your responsibility to the people around you. It's too late for Cas to change, so let him be a reminder of what not to do. Joseph Michael Guernsey isn't a threat to anybody. Not anymore. All of his dirty laundry has been aired out, all his actions to attack the credibility of those who criticize him, all his sexual comments towards women, all of his use of victims. No victim should ever go to CasWarFox and his furry mafia. You're probably wondering why I didn't list the kit I'm building at the beginning like I did last time. Well, because I thought it'd be better to note it afterwards. This is the high-grade Sazabi. You can find it in the affiliate link in the description. I decided to go with this because Cas decided to robe his new account with the name of Char from Mobile Suit Gundam, a character who, mind you, reciprocated the affection of a child, actively put her in danger, and wound up dead because he didn't listen to any common sense. Creep. Thanks for joining me through the rabbit hole of CasWarFox. Stay safe, and keep away from the Fox Mafia. And to the Fox Mafia itself, I only have this to say.
The Freedom missiles have been launched! You better rip out your flower print suitcases, pack your bags, and get the off of YouTube!
I got pussy pics. You want to try to trade pussy pics? I got my pussy right here. Where are you?